The United States has always held a strong position on immigration and visa policies. These policies, often reflecting the nation's foreign policy outlook, have been subject to shifts and changes under different administrations. Recent years, particularly under the Biden and Trump presidencies, have witnessed a stark contrast in approaches towards visa regulations, igniting debates about their motivations and implications. This essay delves into two such contrasting visa policies, one implemented by President Biden targeting Israelis, and another by President Trump, focused on pro-Hamas students. The juxtaposition of these policies highlights the complex interplay between national security concerns, foreign policy objectives, and individual liberties. While both policies stem from a desire to protect American interests, they differ significantly in their scope, implementation, and the perceived motivations behind them. This difference is further accentuated by the contrasting reactions from the public and the political sphere. In December 2023, amidst escalating tensions in the West Bank, the Biden administration announced a new visa policy targeting Israelis deemed to be undermining peace and stability in the region. This policy, seen by many as a departure from traditional U.S. support for Israel, raised eyebrows and sparked criticism from pro-Israel groups and legal experts. The policy, vaguely worded and open to interpretation, empowers the U.S. government to deny visas to Israelis based on their perceived involvement in activities deemed detrimental to peace efforts. This includes individuals linked to settlements in the West Bank, or those deemed to be inciting violence or discrimination. Critics argue that the policy's vague language and broad scope could potentially ensnare individuals with legitimate business or personal reasons to travel to the U.S. Furthermore, the policy's implementation has been marred by accusations of bias and double standards. Critics point to the lack of similar measures targeting Palestinians involved in inciting violence or opposing peace efforts. This perceived imbalance has led some, including myself, to label the policy as a Jew ban, arguing that it unfairly targets Israelis based on their political beliefs and affiliations. In stark contrast to Biden's approach, the Trump administration, in January 2025, signed an executive order targeting pro-Hamas students in the U.S. for visa revocation and deportation. This policy, stemming from concerns about anti-Israel protests on university campuses and potential national security threats, specifically targets individuals engaged in material support for Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. The policy's implementation gained significant attention with the high-profile detention of Mahmoud Khalil, a former Columbia University student and vocal pro-Hamas activist. Khalil, accused of organizing and participating in protests that crossed the line into inciting violence and supporting terrorism, became a focal point in the debate surrounding the policy's scope and potential infringement on First Amendment rights. However, legal experts, including myself, argue that the policy falls well within the legal bounds of executive power and is carefully tailored to address legitimate national security concerns. Unlike Biden's policy, which targets individuals based on their political views and affiliations, Trump's policy focuses on demonstrable actions and material support for a designated terrorist organization. This crucial difference, often overlooked in the politically charged debate, underscores the legitimacy and necessity of addressing security threats posed by individuals who support or engage in terrorism. The contrasting reactions to Biden's and Trump's visa policies highlight a concerning double standard within the political and media landscape. While Trump's policy faced immediate backlash from Democrats and some media outlets, Biden's policy, despite its potentially discriminatory nature and vague language, has largely flown under the radar, receiving surprisingly little opposition even from within the Democratic Party. This discrepancy in reactions raises questions about the objectivity and fairness of media coverage and political discourse surrounding issues related to Israel and Palestine. It also underscores the need for a more nuanced and balanced approach to addressing complex foreign policy challenges, one that prioritizes national security interests while upholding fundamental freedoms and principles of due process. The implications of these contrasting visa policies extend far beyond the individuals directly affected. They signal a shift in U.S. foreign policy priorities and raise concerns about the politicization of visa regulations. As the U.S. navigates its role on the global stage, it is imperative that its policies, particularly those with significant implications for individuals and international relations, are grounded in principles of fairness, transparency, and adherence to the rule of law.